We've seen some beautiful, albeit cooler weather over the last couple of hours across the Central Coast. But one thing that may have been on many people's minds is looking at those skies. Where did that smoke plume go? Right now we do have a little bit more of that dense marine air trying to make its way into San Luis Obispo, but over those hills you can't see that big plume of smoke that we've seen day after day. If you're asking why that's not there, it's actually something to do with our atmospheric profile at this point. So unlike the last couple of days, we aren't seeing that big plume of smoke. And even though the fire is still very much active, smoke is still being emitted. What we typically see is this kind of profile with warmer air on the surface, and it gets cooler as you head up in the atmosphere. That's what we typically see, and that's exactly what we saw over the last few days with that massive plume of smoke. Today, things are a little bit different. It's slightly cooler, at least relatively cooler at the surface, but there's this area of trapped warm air just up to the upper levels of that portion of the atmosphere. What that means is all that smoke that's coming in from the fire down along the surface is kind of trapped in those lower levels of the atmosphere. It's trapped below that warm band of air, and even though we do still have lots of smoke coming from the fire, it's staying in those lower elevations, so it's not quite visible from where we're seeing it in San Luis Obispo or many of our coastal valleys. But don't let that fool you. We do still have active concerns with the Gifford fire. It's still blazing out there in the interiors of San Luis Obispo County. Right now, we do have a very slight area of a little bit more that ash in those highest levels of the atmosphere. It's not really too much of an issue at this point. Cooler conditions are still in place, but it is a little bit on the gusty side. And that's something you're definitely going to be noticing if you're outside. About 15 to 20 miles an hour for many of our communities at this point. But the one difference is that along our south coast, we're starting to see those winds pick up. For our south coast communities, areas around the Gaviota coastline, as well as in Mariposa Reina, we're expecting another sundowner wind event later on tonight. Right now, only 20 to 25 miles an hour. Later on tonight, right around sunset, we're looking at those wind gusts likely upwards of 50 miles an hour. So that's enough that we do have this wind advisory through 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, although the worst of that will just be around that sunset time frame. A little bit more of those gusts overnight, but they won't be nearly as bad. Still something to be keeping an eye on. Temperatures outside right now, not too bad. 61 degrees in San Luis Obispo and Santa Maria, as well as in Lompoc, 92 in the Coyama Valley, 93 in California Valley. Do still have some of those 90s holding on. But in the interiors near Paso Robles, significantly cooler. Right now, only 75 degrees. That's about 13 degrees cooler than it was just 24 hours ago. 11 degrees cooler in those last 24 hours there as well at this point. So significantly cooler air making its way in. This is all really just because of our marine layer bringing in that cool air, and it's actually making its way into those interiors at this point. Not a whole lot of change along our south coast. That cooler air is indicative of what we're seeing for the rest of the pattern. Cooler air all the way through the next few days. 91 in Paso Robles, 71 in San Luis Obispo, 70 in Santa Maria, 66 in Lompoc, and 68 degrees in Santa Barbara for your Friday. Staying a little bit on the cooler side over the weekend. Low 90s Saturday and Sunday, 70s in San Luis Obispo. Then we'll be right back up to near triple-digit temperatures Wednesday and Thursday in Paso Robles. 80s in San Luis Obispo, staying in the 70s for Santa Maria and Santa Barbara. Slightly more limited areas of fire concern through the weekend, then more fire concerns all the way through the end of next week.